So as I did say, we will be covering Kent a lot this week, and so far, at the time of doing this video, Linda Carmen still has not resigned. There has been, of course, calls by the Kent MPs, but from the Labour Party, I doubt she's really going to pay any attention to their calls to resign. But so far, that entire scandal is still rumbling on, blowing up. No one is very happy. There's now this witch hunt against these four councillors who, bear in mind, they have no evidence that one of those four is like one of the leakers. All they have to do in the investigation is say, "It's not me. You've got no evidence to prove it to me. I didn't do it." So that'll be fun when that investigation takes place. That's for sure. But there's still stuff being said. There's still stuff being leaked about what's going on. There's still this rumor that there's going to be a vote of no confidence. I think all of this, to be honest, has been done, and this leaked initially to try and force her out, which, again, as you can see, will it have the desired effect? Who knows? Even if you do replace her with someone else, they're just going to be just as bad. They're just going to be just as bad. Trust me, this is not a problem of like just one person and like bad leadership. This is just typical reform chaos. But meanwhile, we are going to get into some truly bizarre and weird reform chaos here, because it now turns out that Kent County Council is now trying to steal money from another council to try and pay off its own debts. So if you thought everything so far was going on, that is like completely weird, with all the video essentially got leaked just over the weekend. This is an entirely separate thing that is completely different from that, just to show you how bad this council under their leadership really, really is. So before we get on into this, please do, of course, remember to click on the like, share, and, of course, subscribe button down below. Don't forget, of course, to ring the bell as well so you get notifications when we go live and when we drop a new video. Do, of course, hit the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Welcome. There are links, of course, down below to help support the channel. You've got the Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and, of course, as always, there's the YouTube membership down below as well. And, of course, you've got this little QR code up here, which will take you straight, of course, to the Patreon page as well. So let's crack on then into this and find out more about this, because this is just wild. Everything that's going on, and then this. And bear in mind, this has nothing to go on with the video leaking scandal. This is just typical, Kent County Council under Reform UK chaos. Just happens to be in the same week, but it's a good example of just how bad they really are at running this council. So, Reform-led Kent County Council now slammed by Medway Council over the Visit Kent and Locate in Kent plans. So, Kent County Council's reform leadership has now been told to, quote, get a grip after it changed the terms of a financial plan to save two organisations which promote tourism and invest now in the county. A £500,000 agreement has been made between the authority and Medway to maintain the operations at Visit Kent and Locate in Kent, which announced that they were, of course, closing down just last month. Medway's Labour leadership has committed to contributing over £50,000, but late on Friday, Kent County Council got in touch to say by email that it wanted over £100,000 instead. Speaking at a cabinet meeting just last night, Medway councillors hit out at Reform, saying that its approach was chaotic and showed a complete lack of understanding now of local government. A Reform council having a complete lack of understanding of local government? Surely not. Anyway, it continues. Although, of course, they weren't opposed to, of course, speaking about an increase, they accused county hall counterparts now of playing politics. Medway, of course, has been due to sign off the £50,000 at the meeting, but the decision has now been put on hold ahead now of fresh talks. The deputy leader there, Councillor Theresa Murray, said that the pride and image of our region to investors and to visitors is now being sacrificed on the altar of silly politics. We are supposed to, of course, be partners in this. And if they, of course, well, if of course there were problems, we would always try and, of course, make time and interest of our region to try and work through them. But this is now a confused race to the bottom, where Reform in Kent County Council are now scrambling around for any type of money to try and pretend that Doge has been a success. So this is where it comes into like the bizarre stuff here, because they are trying to prove that, oh look, this doggle thing has been a massive success because we've saved £50,000 here, but in reality they haven't. They've just said, yeah, we want you to pay 100,000 instead of 50, and then they can say, oh look, we've saved this money. Council, of course, Marhill, the portfolio holder of the Economic and Social Regeneration and Inward Investment, said that whoever was making, of course, the decision at Kent County Council needs to get a grip. He said, of course, this was very disappointing in his words. This is not, of course, what the spirit of partnership looks like. You just don't double what you ask of the partner after the papers have already been published. Which is, again, very true. This is not how councils work. A council can't just go, oh yeah, we're going to spend 50,000 on this project to do this. It's going to have all this. They're going to go through all the stuff to do it. No, it's not last minute. They go, yeah, we want more money. The council then have to start the entire process again, because there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff that needs to be proved that this is all value for money, this is good for stuff. It's a lengthy process. But of course, you've got to remember, these reform councillors don't think anything of this process. They don't think that process exists, or they think it's complete nonsense. Again, in fact, pretty much all, let's face it, all the reform councillors, regardless of where they are, not just in Kent, but all the councils we've covered, have a very weird view of local politics. And now they've actually faced the reality of it. There's a lot of mismatch, and that's why you're getting all this weird stuff happening like this. Councillor, of course, Paul King, my opposite at the Kent County Council, did of course reach out to me, although very late in the day, and he did of course try to engage, and of course that was at least appreciated. But whoever, of course, is taking this decision, it is very difficult to know. They need to get a grip. They're confusing, of course, the theatrics of politics with good governance, and nothing good can, of course, come from that. Behaving like this is not in the interests of Medway residents or even Kent residents. He added that it was, of course, very important to move quickly to try and retain as many of the staff there at Visit Kent are located in Kent, and assets and staff as possible. And the report now, of course, would return to the cabinet as soon as it could. Again, he's going to end up in the loss of these jobs or assets at this place. That's not good. You can't just, do this initially and then go, yeah, we want more money, because now they have to go all the way back to this. Yeah. Anyway, Councillor King and, of course, the council have been approached with comment. Medway Council leader Vince Marple said it is, of course, incredibly frustrating that we are here now having to discuss this, because attracting visitors and inward investments is, of course, very important to the region for Kent, and especially to our community here. I want to be, of course, really clear. This is not an officer decision. This is a political decision by Reform UK Cabinet at the Kent County Council. That it flies in the face of any reasonable process. They are absolutely chaotic. They do not understand how local government is run, and frankly, coming to us after our papers have been published to ask us to increase our contribution by 100% was never going to happen. All the work so far has been scuppered, certainly in the short term, because of their inability to actually understand how local government works. Again, typical Reform, everything we've been covering now for months. The item, of course, was withdrawn. So now the funding agreements now have to be discussed further, with the aim of now trying to return it to the cabinet meeting in the near future. The £500 rescue plan for the Visit Kent and Locate Kent would now see, of course, the organisation being taken in-house by the council, which, of course, manage their websites, databases, and retrain some of their staff members. Just I said it beginningly, but it's at the beginning. I said it at the midpoint of this, but it's true. Every single time this happens, it's chaos caused by the fact they've got no clue what they're doing. A couple of months ago, they said, "Oh, yeah, don't worry, we're being slow because, all our officers, they're doing this really important training. They're trying to get to grips and understand their job." Well, doesn't look like even after all that training and making this big song and dance about how they would do all this training and it's taking them time to learn all this stuff, still doesn't look like they actually learned how to run this. And it is inevitable. It is inevitable, of course, in May, there will be more not only reform councillors, but probably more reform councils. Inevitable. And we have to ask the question, how much of this all this chaos that goes on here is then going to affect reform's poll numbers? I think this will. I think it's inevitable. Because if you think it's this bad here, do you think putting someone else in these, this new reform council is somehow going to fix things? Oh no. But I think my own council is going to go reform as well. I think, unfortunately, it's very inevitable. Again, our turnout rate was 25% of the last time we had a local election. So that's why turnout rate, and I keep on saying this and banging on about it constantly in your area, turnout rate is going to be important. You've just seen that played out in another recent by-election where the Lib Dems managed to win, and the turnout down there was 27%. So turnout rate is important on this. Absolutely. So, as always, let me know what you think about all this chaos as usual. I know uh, reform not knowing how to run a council, truly shocking, I know. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Hit the like, hit the share button on your way out. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.